Bismillah, walhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah, wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa mawalah, amma ba'd. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Rabbi sharah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatan min lisani yafqahu qawli. There's a common question that non-Muslims ask that maybe you don't know how to answer. Let's take it a step further. There's a common question that even sometimes Muslims ask, and sometimes you don't know how to respond to your friend or your brother, or sometimes even your own kids. So if you have kids and you're afraid you don't know how to answer this question, you might want to pay close attention. This is a question that I've been receiving actually quite often. I've received it in the masjid, subhanAllah, many times. And bismillah. The question is, if I don't believe in Islam, or if I don't believe in God at all, but I'm still a good person, shouldn't I go to heaven? You guys ever hear this one? You've heard this question before? It scares me to think that there are some Muslims that are very practicing in their deen, even knowledgeable, memorizing Quran, coming to the masjid, everything. Their kid asks them this question, they're not good at answering. Then the kid starts to think, this Islam doesn't make much sense. My dad is practicing so much, learning so much, but what's it all for? He can't even answer a simple question. That's dangerous. The fact of the matter is, if a Muslim is asking this question, it should break your heart. It should be a very sad question. Why? Because it shows that they have been influenced, dare I say brainwashed, dare I even say mentally colonized, to such an extent, so thoroughly, so completely, that they are completely unaware of it. You guys know the example of the fish swimming in water who says, "What's water? I never heard of water." When you're so surrounded by something, it becomes so normal, you don't even know what that thing is. It could be the case that we're so surrounded by the Western mentality that we've adopted Western ideas in our mind. Even you could say Christian ideas, Western ideas in our minds, secular ideas in our minds. We don't even realize that we think I'm practicing a Muslim, but I still have this question. The question in and of itself has hidden assumptions. And this is the problem. That oftentimes when somebody asks us a question, we don't know how to analyze the question to say, do you realize that your question assumes a bunch of different things? Do you realize that? And they don't. So what is the hidden assumption built into the question? The question is assuming that God is a tool used to better our relationship with humanity. That's the point. What is the objective of this whole concept of God and God sending guidance? Well, God sends guidance so that when we apply the guidance, we are better with each other. We know how to get married. We know how to be nice to each other. God says don't steal, so we don't steal from each other. God says don't kill, so we don't kill each other. This is the point. The whole point of guidance is to make us live more peacefully, more in harmony on earth. That's the assumption. Then, with that assumption in mind, then you go ahead and ask the question, if we already have a good relationship with humanity, if things are already harmonious, if things are already smooth, then isn't the objective already met? We've already met the goal. So what's even the point of God? We're already good people. Therefore, there's no point. There's no need. God was just the vehicle. A'udhu billah, as if there is some higher objective that we're getting to and God is some sort of stepping stone. Let me just step on this whole God character and get to my real objective. You know, peace on earth and so on and so forth, whatever the case may be. How do we answer? We answer by addressing the underlying assumption which is false. We let the person know that your base principle, the idea that God's guidance is just for the sake of bettering our harmony, humanity, this base assumption is completely off. In fact, the Muslim is the one who says God isn't a tool that's reduced to a source of guidance that just helps us better our relationship with humanity. No. Actually take that idea and flip it exactly upside down. Flip it exactly on its head. What do I mean? Rather, every human relationship that you have with your father and mother, with your brother and sister, with your wife or husband, with your son or daughter, with your neighbor, with your coworker, or with your friends. All of those relationships are actually the stepping stone. Those are the stepping stones. Those are the means by which you better your relationship with Allah. You're looking at the whole equation backwards. You're thinking, yeah, God sent guidance. Why? The whole purpose of being religious is so we can be better with humanity. No, my relationship with my brothers and sisters, as much as I love my brothers and sisters, the fact of the matter is, this is all fi sabilillah. Ultimately, this is for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You have taken the whole concept and flipped it on its head. In fact, I remember one of my non-Muslim professors, you know these Orientalists, they study Islam more than Muslims. It's so sad. Some of these Orientalists, they study Islam more than Muslims do, which is just depressing for the Muslim. It's good for them. Well, unfortunately, they're still kuffar. But still, this professor once was explaining that Islam is beautiful social engineering. When you analyze it, look at the 5 pillars of Islam. Kalima la ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. What's the point? Psychological unity. It's for the sake of what? Psychological solidarity. Instead of lots of different gods, we have one God. And instead of lots of different ways of life, we have one, the best way of life, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So psychological unity. Salah, what's the point of salah? Physical unity. We all come together, standing shoulder to shoulder, we worship. So you have psychological unity, you have physical unity. What else? Zakah, financial solidarity. Financial unity, why? Because you take the people who are the richest, you take the people who are the poorest, and you reduce the gap a little bit. Take some of their money, give it to them. They get a little bit more poor, these guys get a little bit more rich. You're lessening the gap. So zakah is a beautiful way of what? Financial solidarity. What about Ramadan? Physiological solidarity. We're all hungry at the same time. Then we all get to feast at the same time. We have this beautiful physiological solidarity. Isn't it beautiful? What about Hajj? Global solidarity. We all come together from all parts of the world to come together. Isn't it so beautiful? My answer is actually no. Your whole paradigm is a kufri paradigm. Why? Because primarily your kalima and your salah and your zakah and your siyam and your hajj, they're primarily to get you closer to Allah Ta'ala. That is the number one reason why you testify La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah, why you pray your salah, why you give zakah, why you fast your siyam, Ramadan, why you go for hajj. It's all directed towards Allah Ta'ala. And yes, now that we've established that, now I can agree with you that there is an element, a beautiful element, which only highlights the wisdom of Allah Ta'ala, that in this process of getting closer to Allah, I totally agree. Humanity does improve. We do get closer together psychologically, physically. We do get closer together financially, physiologically, globally. Yes, these factors are true. This whole deen does bring us together, but that is secondary. And to reduce it to social engineering, what are you doing? You're robbing it of its very essence. You are making this Islam a shell of what it is. And by doing so, you are committing something that we should be familiar with, nifaq, hypocrisy. Think about it. What is a munafiq? The hypocrite is the one who practices Islam for everything external, nothing internal, right? Maybe somebody came for Salat al-Maghrib today. Why? Because they're like, I don't care about Maghrib prayer, but I know that I can give my card out. I can make my sales. If it was just for the salah, I wouldn't even show up, but I know I can network. That's a munafiq. The munafiq is here not for the deen, but just for the social networking aspect. Does Islam include a lot of social networking? Absolutely. Does this jama'ah make us more of a unified family? Absolutely. But for you to reduce it and remove the internal and only focus on the external, for you to remove the actual spiritual element, the thought of the akhirah, and to only think about the dunya and how it benefits you, this is literally nifaq. This is hypocrisy. So when you reduce Islam to social engineering, you're being a pure munafiq. So look at how sad it is that so many Muslims ask this question. What are they revealing about themselves? May Allah protect us. This is very common. It's unfortunately very common. You'll find that there are some Muslims that they will only make dua for material things. Again, using God as a stepping stone for their ultimate objective, the highest objective, which is what? Materialism. Yeah, I pray. I prayed for that car. I prayed for that jacuzzi. I prayed for that job. I prayed for that spouse. These are the times I pray. This is the reason I make sincere dua. God is just my tool, my stepping stone. Yeah, Sheikh, what's that special dua you make so I can get this job? What's the special dua so I can pass this exam? Yeah, Sheikh, what's the special dua I need to make so I get married? How can I use God as the stepping stone to get to my actual objective, which is materialism? SubhanAllah. You've got the whole thing upside down. You're supposed to use everything that you have, my house and my car and my family and the spouse, everything I have, even my own very body, that is supposed to be for the sake of Allah, not that Allah Ta'ala is being used in the opposite direction. What is the ultimate goal? What is the highest objective? Al-ilah. The Muslim is the one who says what? La ilaha illallah. That's what it really means. An ilah is your highest goal. All the steps are leading to what? Whatever that thing is, your ilah. If it's materialism, then that's your God. That is your object of worship. That is your highest aspiration. May Allah protect us. So you have to ask yourself, is God just a tool for the dunya? Is Allah Ta'ala's guidance just to help us attach ourselves even more to this dunya? To make us more immersed in worldly pleasures? Or is it the opposite? This is why the foundational hadith, إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ, is so critical. إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ. Actions are nothing but based upon your intent. You have to ask yourself, what is my true intention behind what I do, when I pray, when I'm a Muslim? What is it all about? Perhaps it's the case that unfortunately, Bismillah. Perhaps it's the case that we've been swimming in this Western culture for so long. We've been surrounded by this Christian narrative for so long that we don't realize that it's seeping into us. This ideology is getting into our hearts without even noticing. Why? Because Christians have consistently made their faith more and more secular. There are so many examples of this. Just for a few. They made their religion entirely about faith. Despite the fact that if you actually read the New Testament, even though we don't agree with everything it says, if you actually read the New Testament, Isa alayhi salam practiced and obeyed God and held on to rules and commandments. So it wasn't just faith alone. It was like the Muslim. الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ. You see that throughout the Bible. You see that throughout the Quran. SubhanAllah, it seems that Allah's revelation is consistent. But what happens later, after the time of Isa alayhi salam, a guy comes around, his name is Paul, and he starts writing letters saying what? No, you're justified by faith alone. Completely robbing the religion of action and just saying it's all in your heart. It has no real world application regarding what you do. This is what was being taught. And you can see this in Galatians 2:16, Romans 3:28, Philippians 3:9, except all from Paul, who completely took the religion away from Isa alayhi salam and turned it into some nonsense. Furthermore, you see that in the Christian world they say there's no place for religion when it comes to economics, when it comes to politics. We all know separation of what? Church and state. You all know the expression? Separation of church and state. Yeah. You believe in God in your heart, but it doesn't apply to your actions. You believe in God in your heart, but it doesn't apply to what's happening in Gaza. No, bomb them, kill them, don't worry about it. Where's God in the equation? Where's morality in this whole situation? Where's your faith in this? SubhanAllah, do people realize that this is the land of Isa alayhi salam? And they are cleansing all the people who believe in Isa alayhi salam? Do you guys realize? I mean, how ridiculous is this? This is the land of Palestine. This is the land of Isa alayhi salam. And the people who believe in Isa are who? Muslims and Christians, that's it. They believe that he's a God, a'udhu billah, they went too far. Ghulu, they went to an extreme. But they still believe in him. They believe, but just to an extreme. Us, we believe in him properly. We believe in him as a prophet. But the Yahud don't believe at all. Hindus don't believe in him at all. Buddhists don't believe in him at all. But the Yahud are getting rid of all the people of what? Palestine. Majority Muslim, minority Christian. Anybody who believes in Isa, get rid of them from the land of Isa alayhi salam. Who's paying for it? Americans. They're Christian. You ask them, how does this support your faith? Separation of church and state, my brother. We don't combine these things. Why? Because they've cut it off. This is how you secularize your faith. You take it away from real world actions. They take this quote from Jesus that's mentioned in the Gospel of Matthew that says, render unto Caesar's what is Caesar's, render unto God what is God's. They twist this verse and they say, therefore, God has no place in economics. You could go to church on Sunday, then on Monday morning you're trading stock, invest in weapons, so the stock price goes up, make some money off of that, no problem. Alcohol, no problem. Pornography, no problem. Drugs, no problem. As long as the stocks are looking good, I'm a day trader. That's what I do. I make good money. Isn't this haram money? What are we talking about? We have no concept of halal and haram when it comes to money. So they've robbed their whole religion. And we're swimming in this. Some people don't like it when I talk about Christianity in the masjid. They say, brother, that's for out there. Brother, you chose to live in this country. You didn't want to live here? Don't live here. You're swimming in it. You better pay attention to what you're in. You're in the swamp. You're soaking it in. It's getting into your pores. So, my point is what? They have secularized their religion, robbing it of any sort of real world application. It's just a little faith in my heart. It's just something that comforts me. And if you want the greatest example of how they secularized their religion, they even made their God a man. A'udhu billah. To claim that Allah Ta'ala, the one who is above and beyond anything in this pathetic worldly creation, the idea that Allah Ta'ala, this is a'udhu billah, even the Muslim can't think of such a horrible thought. Allah Ta'ala is Subhanallah amma yushrikun. Allah Ta'ala is high above this nonsense, to be limited to three-dimensional space, to be limited to height and width and depth, to color, to be limited to a certain texture, temperature, I don't know, whatever else you want to, whatever dimensions you want to give. This is so beneath. Allah Ta'ala is the creator. He's the inventor. He's the designer of time, matter, space. He's the one who authored these things. He's not subjected to it. And yet they even brought the whole concept of Allah Ta'ala, they brought him into humanity, saying that he's a man. This is the epitome of secularizing the sacred. The sacred is beyond this world, but you made it worldly. You made it human. You made it secular. How much clearer can it be? Actually, it can be clearer. Would you like an even bigger example? When Bani Israel said, you know what? Our God is the golden calf. That's an even better example. You know why? I mean, subhanAllah, can it get any more obvious, brothers and sisters, if they're listening, inshallah? I hope they are. Can it get any more obvious? Gold and cattle. These are the two most obvious representations of what? Of wealth, of prosperity. This is the epitome of saying what? God is just a stepping stone to materialism. So you have these two ideas. In conclusion, I hope you guys are with me. I hope you're paying attention. What am I getting at? I hope I'm not just saying a bunch of random words. I hope you actually understand the point. Religion is not a tool to get you more money, like Bani Israel worshiping the golden calf. Religion is not a tool just to bring people together so we can all hold hands and sing kumbaya, because it's all about human beings' relationships. The idea of God becoming a man. And religion is just about making you a better person and making humanity harmonious. No, that is not the case. Your deen is about Allah. Your deen is about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And yes, in the process, as you get closer to Allah Ta'ala, by following Allah's guidance, it is very possible that you do end up studying more. And because you study more, you do get a better job. And it could be the case that you get more money. That can happen, sure. And it could be that you marry a lovely spouse. It could be that you live in a good environment amongst good believers. It could be the case that your Islam gives you better character, and because of your better character, now you have more friends. But at the end of the day, don't let that distract you from the fact that these are beneficial side effects. That's not the main point. And when you ask a question like, what if I'm a good person? Can't I go to heaven anyway? It shows that you've missed the whole thing. The goal was always to get closer to Allah Ta'ala and to get out of this world, not to become more immersed and more attached to this dunya. In fact, if Islam helps you to make more friends, make more money, then you should take that extra money and take those new friends and do what with them? Turn them back to Allah Ta'ala. I got more money, how am I going to spend in the best way that pleases Allah? I have more friends, how can I give them good advice? Let's all go to the masjid, guys, come on. Let's all do something good together. Let's help out those in need. Let's go and give da'wah, let's convert, let's talk to somebody about Islam, inshallah. Direct it all back to Allah Ta'ala. That shows sincerity, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. Why? Because it all came from Him, and so to Him it returns. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Brothers and sisters, there are many Islamic concepts that unfortunately, they seem paradoxical sometimes to us. But we need to clear up our thinking. We need to realize that, look, a lot of the people, they see things completely backwards. They see religion as a way to get more immersed in dunya. No, we see it as a way to get out of dunya. It might benefit in the short term, but ultimately, it is to get close to Allah, and the benefits of dunya are a side issue. If you understand this, then the question would never even arise. How many more other issues are there like this? That was number one. Let's go to number two. This whole idea that family is based on what? Is it based on your blood, or is it based on your iman? Allah Ta'ala tells us what? إِنَّمَا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ إِخْوَةٌ. The real brotherhood is what? The real brotherhood and sisterhood, your real family, is based on faith. This is one of the hardest lessons. We all know the story. Everybody knows about Nuh alayhi salam. Everybody knows that his son was drowned when the wave hit him. And then Nuh alayhi salam begs Allah, Ya Rabb, I thought you said my family would be okay. I'm paraphrasing, of course. Allah Ta'ala, simple words. Laysa min ahlik. He wasn't your family. We hear this. We heard the story many times that Allah tells Nuh alayhi salam, he wasn't your family. Do you know how hard it is for us to accept that? Do you know how many times a kid leaves their deen? Mom and dad just keep talking to the kid. Keep focusing on that kid. Giving him more money, here's another car, here's more reminders, here's another hadith. Mom, stop texting me hadith. I'm in college, I don't care about this stuff anymore. No, listen to this lecture, this imam, this sheikh, he gave a nice talk. I don't care. They keep on focusing, giving him more da'wah, focusing on him, giving him more money, trying to make da'wah for him and everything. All that stuff is nice. But meanwhile, I ask you the question, what about the guy that just took shahada at the masjid? What did we do? We all said takbir, Allahu Akbar, gave him a big hug and never saw him again. He's your family? Who's your family? Imagine, have you ever seen in your life a father say, you know what, I have an old car, I'm going to be buying a new one. Hey kid that just converted, I know you have a hard time coming to the masjid, but I see you come here to the masjid all the time. I want you to take my old car. Why would you give that to me? Because you're like my son. What about your other son? He left the deen. He's not like my son anymore. You're my son now. Please prove me wrong. Anybody ever see this? Just once in your life, anywhere. Forget about seeing it. Have you heard of it? Of course not, right? Because the moment a father, even if his kid left Islam, once he's going to get rid of his old car, what's he going to do? Buy a new one and give his old car to the kid. Well, I thought the kid never goes to the masjid. I thought the kid's only going to drive it to haram places. Yeah, but he's my kid. Is he? Laysa min ahlik. Hasn't sunk in. Islam is teaching you paradoxical thinking. But unfortunately, these things do not sink in. Point number 3, the idea that blessings are actually a bigger test than hardship. When I tell you, oh, such and so is being tested, you think, oh, he's being tested by Allah Ta'ala? Oh, he got into an accident? He got injured, he got sick? What happened to him? Divorce, death in the family? What happened? No. Listen to the words of Allah Ta'ala. Look at how Allah Ta'ala is training the mind for paradoxical thinking. Allah Ta'ala tells us, وَبَلَوْنَاهُمْ بِالْحَسَنَاتِ وَالسَّيِّئَاتِ لَعَلَّهُمْ يَرْجِعُونَ. And we tested them with good and with bad, so that maybe they would return. Whoa, hold on. Why did Allah mention testing with good first? When we think of testing, we always think of bad first. Allah Ta'ala is saying, fix your thinking. Order is very important in the Quran. Nothing is arbitrary in the Quran. Not one word, not one letter, not one dot is arbitrary in the Quran. When Allah Ta'ala says, we tested them with good first, and then bad, what does that mean? The bigger test is not the people in Palestine. Yes, they're being tested, no doubt about it. But that's the obvious test. The whole world knows that's a test. You know who's being tested even harder? Us, swimming in luxury, asleep at the wheel, no idea that we're being tested. That's how you fail your test. Paradoxical thinking. The Quran is teaching us, flip it. When you got that raise, when you got married, when you got that house, when you got that new car, when you got over that sickness, when all the blessings came to you, when that bonus hit you and you saw your bank account jump up, instead of just saying, oh, look at me, I'm so comfortable. What should you have said? Oh, I'm being tested. This is the test. Here's the big one. Allah is testing me hard now. That's how you're supposed to think. Point number 4, the idea that the money you give fi sabilillah, that's what you gave up. But what I keep in my bank account, that's mine. Actually, it's the opposite. Complete paradoxical thinking. Whatever you gave fi sabilillah in charity, that's your bank account. Everything you held on to, gone. Why? Because I say so? No, because the Prophet told us. يَقُولُ ibn Adam, that the human being, the son of Adam says what? Mali, mali, my money, my money. وَهَلْ لَكَ يَا ابْنَ آدَمْ مِنْ مَالِكَ إِلَّا مَا أَكَلْتَ فَأَفْنَيْتَ أَوْ لَبِسْتَ فَأَبْلَيْتَ أَوْ تَصَدَّقْتَ فَأَمْضَيْتَ. But is there for you any wealth, O son of Adam, except what you consume so you used it, or what you wear so then you wear it out, or that you give it in charity and then you keep it and retain it? Only if you give it fi sabilillah. Sahih Muslim, authentic hadith. Only if you give it fi sabilillah, that's your bank account. Do we think like this? This is paradoxical thinking. The Muslim mindset is very different. When we look at the kuffar, we have to think to ourselves, lakum dinukum waliya din. To you your way, to me my way. I think completely different to you people. But when you swim in this environment long enough, it seeps into your bones. Point number 5, fearing the Creator more than the creation. This is very easy on the tongue. Oh, taqillah, we fear Allah, of course, no problem. But the fact of the matter is, When somebody says there's a threat, we worry about the human threat more than the threat from Allah Ta'ala. What does Allah say in response? إِنَّمَا ذَلِكُمُ الشَّيْطَانُ يُخَوِّفُ أَوْلِيَاءَهُ فَلَا تَخَافُوهُمْ وَخَافُونِي إِن كُنتُمْ مُؤْمِنِينَ. That is only shaitan who frightens you of his supporters. So don't fear them, but fear me, if you are indeed believers. If the disbeliever says they want to gather against you and they want to fight you, they want to kill you, say, what, people? Okay, no problem. I fear Allah. If I do something wrong, haram, that's what I'm afraid of. People, who cares? Point number 6. Once you actually have fear of Allah Ta'ala, what is the effect of that? Salah becomes easy. When you tell the non-Muslim, your coworker, your classmate, your neighbor, your friend, you tell them, I pray 5 times a day. They say, that sounds hard. It does sound hard to those who do not have any humility. But Allah Ta'ala tells us what? Ista'inu bis-sabri was-salah wa innaha lakabiratun illa 'ala al-khashi'in. Seek help through patience and prayer, and indeed the prayer, this thing called salah, khams salawat, and even more. This is difficult, this is hard, this is a really big deal, except for those who are humbly submissive. Complete paradox. You think it's hard? I say it's easy. Why? Because of humility. You have none apparently. According to Allah Ta'ala. If you think this is so hard, it must be you're not from amongst the khashi'in. You don't have any khushu'. That must be the case. Point number 7. The idea of prioritizing external beauty instead of internal. We see this all the time. You take a look at your neighbors. We have to keep up appearances. We have to make sure that the car looks good, the house looks nice. What about the bed of roses? I got to make sure I dress good. Everything external. But internal, jealousy, hatred, lust, stinginess, cowardice, all of amradul qulub, all the diseases of the heart, they couldn't care less. Whereas the Muslim is thinking, yes, of course it's nice to dress good clothes. Of course we want to keep our homes nice. Of course we want to drive a decent looking car. These are all perfectly fine things. But every day, I'm more concerned about my internal than I am concerned about my external. That's my top priority. Why? Because the Prophet tells us, إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يَنْظُرُ إِلَىٰ سُوَرِكُمْ وَأَمْوَالِكُمْ. Allah doesn't look at your external forms. He doesn't look at your money. وَلَكِنْ يَنْظُرُ إِلَىٰ قُلُوبِكُمْ وَأَعْمَالِكُمْ. But He looks into your hearts and to your deeds. The believer keeps saying, I need to beautify myself internally. I need to purify my intentions. I need to perfect my concentration in prayer. I need to clean my heart from all these diseases. I need to realize that I have hatred, jealousy, anger. I'm holding grudges. I'm cheap. Giving $5 fi sabilillah feels like pulling teeth. What's wrong with me? Why am I so cowardly? Why can't I talk to my coworker about Islam? I have the truth, they're upon falsehood. I can't even say one word. I can't even tell them I'm going to go pray. I just sneak away. I don't even say, what's wrong? I have to go pray my salah. I have to go to the masjid. I worship Allah. You don't? That's too bad for you, man. You better wake up someday. You might not live forever. Why not have a little confidence? I'm afraid. That's called jabana. It's called cowardice. These are the diseases of the heart, and this is what you should be focused upon, insha'Allah ta'ala. This is what the believer cares about. The reviewing, the memorization of the Quran, improving your dua, making adhkar throughout the day. Subhanallah, alhamdulillah, la ilaha illallah, Allahu Akbar, astaghfirullah, Allahumma salli wa sallam ala nabi Muhammad. These are the words on your tongue. You want to improve your heart. When somebody says, oh, but what about the external things? Yeah, that's nice, whatever. Complete paradoxical thinking. Point number 8. In a crisis, what do people want to do? Speed up. This October 7th, Palestine, they get attacked. People start screaming out, fix it, immediately. Ya Imam, why aren't you fixing it? Imam, make more dua, you're not making enough dua. They get mad. Have you ever seen somebody in Jum'ah stand up and scream at the Imam? It's ridiculous. I don't know who these people think. Brother, you're not fighting the IDF. You're not a mujahid fi sabilillah. You're not saving Palestinian children by getting up and letting everybody know, you guys are all sad, but I'm more sad. You guys are all angry, but I'm more angry. See, I screamed at the Imam today. There, pat on the back. I did something today. You didn't save any kids from any of the drone attacks, I'm sorry to say. You're not that impressive. Stop telling yourself you've done something for nothing. There are real actions you can take in terms of giving da'wah, living in America, converting people, changing public opinion. This is where the funding is coming from. We have a unique position. There are 2 billion Muslims on earth, but only 3.5 million of them live in the United States. We are a tiny minority of Muslims compared to the ocean of Muslims out there. So we have the unique ability. All the Muslims out there in other countries, they can't influence people here. We can. But the thing is, that's the long game. In a crisis, people want fast results. Khabbab ibn al-Arat, anhu, he came to the Prophet, Ya Rasulullah. He said to him, what? Ala tastansur lana? Ala tad'u lana? Won't you ask Allah for victory? Won't you pray for us? Won't you make dua for us? The Prophet explained, there were people before you who believed they were split in half with a saw. There were people before you that were combed with iron combs that would, like, a rake. Imagine raking someone that's all their flesh slowly gets peeled off. You know when you rake the grass? Just think about how disgusting that is, watching your own flesh getting peeled off, and they still would stick to La ilaha illallah. He says, but you people, and also this Islam will spread to the point that a person can go from Sana'a to Hadramaut without fearing anybody but Allah. This Islam is going to spread all over, except for fearing Allah and the wolf from getting his sheep. Basically, natural causes, but your deen is going to be spread. Walakin, he says what? وَلَكِنَّكُمْ تَسْتَعْجِلُونَ. But you people are hasty. In a moment of crisis, Khabbab ibn al-Arat, he's panicking. The Prophet is teaching a very important deen, deep principle. Aim at the long-term solution. That's how you win. Even if you don't win in your lifetime. Immediate victory feeds your ego. I want to get the victory now so I can stand up and go on the news and say, we won. That's for ego. However, sincerity means that you get the victory even after you're gone. So my kids and my grandkids can benefit, I'll be gone. I will get no credit from this dunya. My credit is for Allah Ta'ala. That's the slow process. And if you have any doubt that we can have an impact on the society, please tell me you guys know these numbers. What are the top 3 religions in the United States, percentage-wise? What's number 1? Christianity. What's the percent of Christians in the United States? 63%. They're on the decline. They've been on the decline for a while. But they're still the majority. What's religion number 2? Say it louder, please. Judaism? Somebody say Judaism? Yeah. What's the percentage in the United States? What percentage of America is Jewish? What? 2%. 2%. And then Islam is number 3. What's the percentage of Islam in the United States? 1%. Now, simple question. The Jewish community, are they influential or not? Yes. Thank you. If you're unaware of that, then I don't know, you're living under a rock. In the United States, yes, 2%. We're 1%. Can we go from 1 to 2% within the next couple of years based on birth rates, based on conversion, based on immigration? Easily. I'm not saying, let's give da'wah and we're going to go from 1% to 63% like the Christians. That's not very realistic. That's a bit of a jump. It's a bit, not very realistic. But can we go from 1 to 2%? Can we go from 1 to 2 to 3%? If they're that influential, can we be that influential? You guys get my point? But no. Instead of the long-term process of saying, subhanAllah, they're killing our kids over there, let's have more kids over here. Each one of us should have many children. Why? Because these people around here are not having many kids. LGBTQ, they're not having any kids. Trans, gay, this and that, no babies coming there. And people are not getting married till extremely late, plus the divorce rate is extremely high. So as their birth rates go down, our birth rates go up. Can we go from 1 to 2, from 2 to 3? Can we have more and more influence? Can we convert more and more? If they can have 2% and have so much influence, can we have more influence? See, that's the long game. But no. What do you have? Some guy in the back of the room that wants to prove that he's a hero. So what does he do? Stand up. Imam, you didn't make dua. You didn't make enough dua. There. He goes home. I yelled at the Imam today. I'm a big tough guy. Look at me. MashaAllah, you stopped the rockets, didn't you? Fighting the whole IDF by yourself with that, with yelling at the Imam. What a hero you are. Enough of this nonsense. We see this every time there's a crisis. Some guy gets up and says, "That's my country." Yeah. There's a lot of. I didn't see the brothers from Sudan getting up and yelling. I didn't see the people from China getting up and yelling. What about the people from Gujarat? What about the people from Afghanistan? What is this? Everybody could get up and say, "What about my country? My country." Look, if you really want to help, there's a method. I have one idea. Maybe you have another idea. Let's sit down and talk about real ideas, about real planning, about long-term solutions. The fact of the matter is, it took us a long time to get into this mess. It'll probably take us a long time to get out of this mess. That's how the real world works. Sitting around and screaming like a petulant child doesn't do anything. There once was a time where it was okay and acceptable for women and children to panic and scream and just throw tantrums. But men were supposed to be different. Men were supposed to keep a cool head even in the worst of circumstances. That seems to be going away. I don't know. Allah Alam. So my point is that yes, let's keep a cool head and let's think a little bit more and say, instead of getting mad and getting all heated and saying, I'm more angry than you, let's be realistic and start planning. Point number 9, I know I'm going along. I just want to make 2 last points. Point number 9, in warfare, the mujahid is not seeking ghanima. He's seeking shahada. This is completely paradoxical thinking. You guys know what ghanima means? What is ghanima? What? Spoils of war. War booty. The spoils of war. The mujahid, when he goes to battle, he's not seeking ghanima. He's seeking shahada. That means if he goes to war and he wins, he gets a lot of wealth back, I better go again. He gets even more wealth back, I better go again. Bro, you already won. That's not winning. That's not winning. Gaining more dunya was not my goal. My goal was shahada, not ghanima. This is completely paradoxical thinking. Why? Because the mujahid is the one who understands that he's going to keep going until he loses. He's not there to win the fight. He's there to lose the fight. Why? Because he understands that loving this world is for losers. The only way to win in the akhirah is to accept that this world is a place of loss anyhow. Everything will be destroyed sooner or later. You accept that fact. And so you say, I'm not here to win. I'm actually here to lose. And that makes you the most dangerous enemy ever. You don't want to be in a fight with a guy who's there to lose. He's going to go all out. But the Muslims aren't like that nowadays. We could be over 2 billion. But nobody's afraid of us. Nobody's afraid of, subhanAllah, all these Muslim countries surrounding the whole area. They're not afraid of any of them. Why? Because they want to live. They're not seeking a ghanima, they're seeking shahada. They're not seeking shahada, they're seeking a ghanima. Allah Ta'ala tells us that no, if you really want to live, you actually have to accept to die. That's the way you truly live. How do we know this? Our Prophet, Yahya alayhi salam, famously was known for what? Being martyred. That's one of the things that we know him most for. What does the name Yahya even mean? Hayya Yahya, hayatan, hayawanan, fahuwa hayyun. The word Yahya literally means he lives in Arabic. If you guys don't know any, you have to know a little bit of Arabic. Yahya literally means he lives. The Prophet, who is most known for being martyred, is the one who's named he lives. If that's not clear enough for you, then Allah Ta'ala tells us, وَلَا تَقُولُوا لِمَنْ يُقْتَلُ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ أَمْوَاتٍ بَلْ أَحْيَاءٌ وَلَكِنْ لَا تَشْعُرُونَ. Allah Ta'ala says, do not say about those who are killed in the way of Allah that they are dead, rather they are alive, but you don't perceive it. Don't even say the words that they're dead, because that shahada is true living. And the final point, inshallah, I know I went long, point number 10, about paradoxical thinking, is what? Ask yourself, let's say theoretically, the world ends, everybody's dead, resurrection. Bi-idhnillah, we're forgiven for our sins and we go to paradise. Inshallah. May Allah Ta'ala make us from those who are forgiven. Ameen ya Rabbil Alameen. I want you to ask yourself, who's going to want to come back? Anybody want to come back? Anybody going to want to come back? Anybody want to say, you know what, this Jannah place is kind of cool, but I really like my jacuzzi back home. I really like my car. I like my job. I really like my neighborhood. I want to go visit it again. I really liked, my coffee in the morning. I made it just right with my, my espresso machine. I loved it. It was fantastic. I just want to go back for one more. Anybody going to think that way? No. Guess what? There is going to be one person that wants to go back. There is. Not because I say so, because the Prophet tells us, ما أحد يدخل الجنة يحب أن يرجع إلى الدنيا وله ما على الأرض من شيء إلا الشهيد يتمنى أن يرجع إلى الدنيا فيقتل 10 مرات لما يرى من الكرامة. The Prophet says, Sahih Bukhari, authentic hadith. Nobody who enters paradise will want to go back into the world, even if he had everything in this earth. Even if you were the richest person, you wouldn't want to come back. Except the mujahid, except for the shaheed, except for the martyr who wishes to return to this world so that he may be martyred 10 marrat, 10 times, because of the honor he is given. Can you imagine? Each and every single one of us thinking, I don't want to come back, but you had a nice car. Weren't you working so hard for that car? Didn't you work so hard for that mansion? Didn't you work so hard for that pool in the backyard? Don't you want to go back to it? No, but you worked so hard for it. Who wants to go back? Take a look at the images on your phone. Take a look at the images of the kids in Palestine. Take a look at the people with their arms blown off. Take a look at the images with the people with their guts hanging out. Take a look at the images that make us cry every night. And if you haven't cried, there is something seriously wrong with you. I'm sure, has everybody seen these images, or am I the only one? You've seen these images? Yes or no? You've seen the images online. of people with their faces melted because of white phosphorus, which is illegal. It's illegal to be using white phosphorus, but they use it anyway. And for some reason, they don't call it an international war crime, even though it is. And those are the ones who say, Ya Rab, send me back. I want that one more time because of the honor for your sake. If that's not an example of paradoxical thinking, I don't know what is. Do you guys understand what I'm saying? Completely, this is 10 examples. 10 examples of completely paradoxical thinking. So we have to make dua that, Ya Allah, help us to realize that Allah Ta'ala, that God is not a tool for this world. Rather, everything in this world is a tool to get closer to Allah. We make dua, Ya Allah, help us to realize that our family members are the believers regardless of blood relations. That's the true family. Ya Allah, help us to realize that blessings are a bigger test than hardships. Ya Allah, help us to realize this paradoxical thinking. Ya Allah, help us to realize that charity is what I keep. What I have in my bank account with Bank of America or Chase or whatever else, that's what I lose. Your only real bank account is what you've given fi sabilillah. Ya Allah, help us to realize that fearing the Creator supersedes fearing the creation. Ya Allah, help us realize that salah is easy, not difficult, but that's only true for people who are actually humble and fear Allah. Ya Allah, help us to realize that internal beauty supersedes external beauty. Ya Allah, help us to realize that working diligently is better than panicking and expecting some sort of quick fix just because you're angry. No, work patiently, slowly, and diligently. It's paradoxical. In a panic situation, you want things to happen fast, but slow down. Now is the time to think. Ya Allah, help us to understand this paradoxical thinking. Ya Allah, help us to understand that shahada is better than ghanima. And Ya Allah, help us to understand that the only one who will want to return is the martyr. Ameen Ya Rabbil Alameen.